everyone, I'm Sava and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video we're going to be making homemade fruit roll-ups. But before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss another one of my videos. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so for this recipe, all you're going to need is whatever fruit you choose, 3 cups of it. And if you want to add some sugar or another sweetener, you can. I'm not going to. And you just need a cookie sheet and some saran and some parchment paper. And that's literally it. So if you don't have a dehydrator, it's okay. I don't either currently. So we're just going to use our oven. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is if you have a dehydrator, great, go preheat that. If you don't and you're using an oven, go preheat your oven. Okay, so the oven's preheated. We're going to preheat that to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, super low because we don't want anything to burn. Now, I know you might be thinking to yourself, like, saran, plastic wrap in the oven, seriously? But don't worry, it's going to be super, super low in the heat, so you'll even be able to touch the pans, touch the fruit, touch whatever you want, and nothing's going to be too hot where you're going to burn. I promise you. Now I'm warning you right now, this is going to take a few hours. This isn't something that happens quickly because we need to make sure all of the moisture and water is out of our fruit. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to line our sheets, which I already did, with our plastic wrap, and then all you're going to want to do is puree in a blender or whatever it is that you have your fruit. And then after we do that, we're just going to spread it evenly on the pan and just plop them right in the oven. So I wanted to do this with a couple different fruit. I don't have enough blueberries, unfortunately, so I have with me some strawberries and some mangoes, and I'm just going to put 2 sheets in the oven. Now you definitely want to keep an eye on this because every fruit is different and each fruit takes a different amount of time to dehydrate properly. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to be periodically checking on them and making sure everything is all good to go. So for your mango, you want to make sure everything is peeled, skinned, good to go. And for your strawberries, you just want to make sure you cut the leaf part off when you pit them. That's literally it. Make sure everything's nice and clean. You don't really have to worry too much about drying them after you wash them because they of course are going to just get dry in the oven. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to start with the mango just because it's the first thing right in front of me. So you're just going to want to take 3 cups of whatever fruit it is that you have and just put them in the blender. Now I know I always say make sure your hands are clean, your hair is up, jewelry's off, but for something like this I'm not really touching anything, so of course my hands are clean, but I'm not really worried about too much else. Okay, so here we go. Okay, we're done. So you just want to get this as smooth as you possibly can. So now, excuse my hair, it's a little bit wet, but okay, I'm just going to take one of these pans. That was smart. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of these pans. I'm just going to spread this evenly. You want it to be like 1/8 inch thick and just make sure it's even throughout. And you do want to make sure that, let's see if you guys can see, that you have your saran evenly wrapped around and around all the edges because we are going to be pulling this off and putting it onto our parchment paper. And you don't want to be like digging in to get it out, just to make it a lot easier on you guys. Now this is where you can add your sugar or your natural sweetener or whatever it is that you want to add. I'm actually not going to do that because when you dehydrate your fruit, it actually concentrates the natural sugars that are found in it and it makes it extra sweet anyway, so I don't really find the need, plus it's not as healthy, so I'm just going to do it this way. But if you want to add your sweetener, this is the time to do so. And see how nice and smooth that is? Do it as long as you need to. You're going to be waiting long enough for this to be in the oven. But you're not going to want all these different chunks or anything on your pan because you want this to be cooking as evenly as you can, and little chunks and things like that are really going to kind of mess things up. So you just want to make this as smooth as possible. I think it's a fruit roll-up. The fruit roll-ups aren't very thick, and dehydrating fruit typically is going to take much longer than this. This shouldn't take as long since it's not the thick actual pieces of fruit we're dehydrating. We've already pureed everything and made it super, super thin, so it's going to dehydrate way quicker. Now I'd like to say this is the longest part, but we all know it's not. Okay, so you're just going to want to try and get this as flat and even as you possibly can. This is what I've got. Okay, and I'm just going to put this over here. Now I'm just going to rinse out my little blender here, and then I'm going to work on the strawberries. Alright, so we're all rinsed, and like I said, I'm not too worried about everything being wet or anything like that. Like, this is perfectly fine. If this is a little wet, everything is going to just dehydrate in the oven anyway. So now we're just going to do the same thing with our strawberries. Puree these until they're smooth. Now you can also mix and match your different fruits. You can easily put a cup and a half of your mangoes and a cup and a half of your strawberry and make a strawberry mango one. It's perfectly fine. I'm just doing them separately just because I want more fruit roll-ups. It's literally the only reason. Alright, so let's get this one started. Okay, all done. So now for the strawberries, of course, you are going to notice that there's going to be some seeds. Now, I don't mind that whatsoever, but if you do, you can always take an extra step and try and drain them out or something like that, but it's really no big deal. So another tip is don't stack these, because that's what I did, and then, you know, wasn't thinking, and the saran stuck on everything. Okay? So now we're just going to do literally the same exact thing as we did with the mangoes with the strawberries. Now you will be able to tell right away how much thinner the consistency is of the strawberry, and that's just because of the water content that's in them. See how much that poured out, like liquidy? That's why. And this is another reason why different fruits take a different amount of time. Makes sense, right? Okay. Smells so good, oh my gosh. I know it's just strawberries, but wow. Okay, so same thing. Just gonna want to spread this around. Now this is actually way easier than the mango, surprisingly. Just gonna want to spread this out to an even consistency. Like I said, about 1/8 of an inch, even all around. I'm just gonna take this and whatever little chunks that I might see, I'm just gonna scoop out of here. This smells so good. I can't wait to try this with raspberries or blueberries and things like that. I wonder how it will come out. Now, if you guys are interested in some nutrient facts on strawberries, you can check out my strawberry banana smoothie video. If you haven't already, I will link it up above or down below. And if you want to know some nutrient facts on mangoes, then I will link that recipe below as well, or up on the screen somewhere. My mango mojito chicken recipe, so delicious. So good. Now it's actually working more with the strawberries than it did with the mango. When I shake it around like this, it kind of just makes everything even for me. So that's another little tip I just learned. So this is what you should have. Now we're done with the strawberries, so I'm just gonna plop both of these in the oven for, it should take about 6 to 8 hours. And then we're going to be checking it in periodically, and then we're gonna see how it comes out. This is probably the longest timer that I've ever used in my entire life. Okay, so now that we have our baking sheets in the oven, I thought I'd take some time to just talk about dried fruit with you guys, what it is, some tips, some tricks, some benefits, and things like that. So what is dried fruit or dehydrated fruit? So dried fruit is fruit that has had almost all of its water content removed through a drying or dehydration process. Like I said before, dehydrating actually concentrates the sugars that are in the fruit, so it tastes way sweeter. Now, we pureed our fruit, but you can do that, or you can just slice it thin and put it right in the oven and have the same result. Now for this, you'll notice that the fruit is going to shrink, leaving a smaller, energy-dense fruit. Now, what are some benefits of dehydrated fruit? So like I said before, the fruit is going to shrink, so it's going to take up less space and make for easy storage. It's also perfect for travel. Dried fruit are also going to save you tons of energy because you don't need refrigeration or freezer or anything like that in order to store them properly. Drying or dehydrating your fruit also allows you to buy in bulk and in season, so you can just store it for later. It also reduces waste since you're not throwing away fruits that have gone bad. You can always just dehydrate them and just preserve them that way. Dried fruit is super easy to do, and it's an awesome alternative to preserve your fruit without having any chemicals or preservatives. Now, what's the downside to dried fruit? If you're going to the store, typically they're very expensive to buy. It's known as more of a luxury product. Now, in order to preserve these foods, instead of just doing what we normally do to make them last longer on the shelves, they do add sulfur dioxide. And this is a preservative that you don't want to be consuming. So definitely keep an eye out for that on your ingredient list. Now, like I said before, the sugar is concentrated, so do keep in mind that dried fruit is higher in calories and in sugar. Common dried fruits contain about 38 to 66% more sugar. Now for some more tips and hints. So like I said before, you're definitely going to want to slice your fruit evenly if you're putting them in a sheet like that, or pour it out evenly to make sure everything is dehydrating in the same manner. Be prepared to wait. You might want to start this process earlier in the day because drying or dehydrating fruit, depending on the fruit, can take from 4 to 24 hours. If you don't have a dehydrator, like I said earlier, don't fret. You can use your oven just like I'm using right now. If you're buying dried fruit that's already pre-packaged, make sure to steer clear of those big name brands as they most likely are going to be using those preservatives that we talked about earlier. Now, more important than the temperature of your oven is the airflow. Now, if you have a fan in your oven, use it. If you don't, it's okay. Just make sure to periodically open your oven to just let out any excess moisture. Now, just like you're going to want to avoid dried fruit if you're buying it from the store that has added preservatives, you're also going to want to avoid those packaged fruits that are either rolled in sugar, have added sugar, or added syrups. Now, if you're going to be doing this yourself, like we're doing here today, make sure to choose firm and mature fruits. These are going to be highest in natural sugar and nutrient content. But you do want to stay away from fruits that are overripe or bruised. Well, that's all I have for the nutritional info today for you guys. So now it's just time to wait for our fruit roll-ups to dehydrate in the oven. Okay, so it's been about 6 hours and we're out of the oven. And I've already let this cool for a little while. Now, all you're going to want to do now is you're going to want to take this off of the plastic wrap and start cutting your strips. So I'm just going to use a pair of kitchen scissors. It should peel right off of your plastic wrap. So you can either put this parchment paper flat on your roll-up sheet, or you can just cut separate strips. I'm just going to cut a separate strip for you guys so you can see, and then we're just going to roll it up. Okay, so we have our little fruit roll-up. Now, time to taste it. Pretty good. So like I said, there's no preservatives, there's no nothing. The dehydrating does that all for you. So yes, this takes a little while to dehydrate in the oven, but it's definitely worth the wait and it's much more healthier and cheaper than to go and get your fruit roll-ups from the store. Well, that's all for this video, you guys. I hope you liked it and I hope you learned something new. Don't forget to leave your feedback in the comment section below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss another one of my videos. If you want to get my exclusive nutrition tips, healthy food recommendations, and delicious recipes just like this one, make sure to head over to the description box, click the link, and join the fam. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.